I guess welcome to Michigan for the people that haven't been here before. I am up in the northern part of Michigan. If we can, yeah, I guess we can see that. That's kind of small print down here, but that's Detroit down here. I live up in the northern part of Michigan. It's a resort area where everybody comes to play, and I get to live here. And great place to live, and we love it here. Uh, so I'm gonna put my boring bar system on, and you think, why am I using this big system for such a little thing when I could easily hollow this out by hand? And I learned how to hollow by hand before there was captured systems, and so I could do this without getting a catch, but I choose not to because of the laser. The laser is going to put me in complete control of where I'm at and the depths and the wall thickness and everything. And when a Christmas ornament, if we're going to use it, and I'm making one, well, that's another whole subject, I guess. When you're going to make a Christmas ornament, why are you making it? Are you making it because you're Dale Nish or Richard Raffin or a famous turner that's going to put it on display and hang it independently for people to view and appreciate the artwork of? Or a Cindy Drozda when she's doing her finials that are so delicate that you would never ever put it on a tree and risk breaking it. So there are two ways to go. You can do one that is, and maybe you have some really special wood that's exotics or something that you're going to do a special Christmas ornament just as a display piece. But if you're going to use it on a tree, and that's what I'm going to do here, is make a more functional Christmas ornament, you want to be a little bit careful and not make it too fragile. You want it nice and thin. Thin doesn't mean fragile. I want to make it thin because I'm going to put it on a Christmas ornament. It can't be heavy. It's got to be light, and so it's got to be thin in order to be usable. If you're going to do it as a display piece, it doesn't matter how thick it is. You know, you just get the wood out so that it doesn't check and crack and dry and cause problems. So you got to hollow it, but the inside doesn't matter. You're going to glue the cap and the finial on. Nobody will see the inside. It doesn't matter. And usually you won't pick it up and handle it either because it's going to be fragile. The fragile part comes from the finial usually, not the globe part. So in this case, we're going to make something that's functional. In order for this to be functional, it has to be thin. If I'm going to do it thin, the laser's the thing to help me do that. It puts me in complete control of the wall thickness. I know what I'm doing. I know where I'm at. I never make a funnel or go through the side because I know exactly what the wall thickness is by using the laser. So could I do it by hand? Sure. Why? It's a lot faster, a lot easier to do it with a hollowing system, and I have the laser as my advantage. So we're going to use it. So I've got this captured with my backrest and handle. I've got the lasers attached so that they're all moving together. So I'm a little bit high there. Let's all of my tool positioning is the front tool rest. So I'm going to bring my nut on my threaded rod tool rest and get this cutting on the center line or slightly above. Never get below center, and then I can never get a catch with this. All right, so I'm going to get in here and let's just get rid of some of this waste wood in the middle. Swing my handle away from me a little bit. I want to be really careful if I'm new at this. I don't want to make a thin wall here. I want to keep lots of wood there. Again, if I make a thin wall down here, I'm going to come up here and start hollowing. It's going to vibrate. I don't want that to flex and vibrate, so I need support for it. I'll leave a thick wall. So I just got some of that wood out of there. Now this is a good idea to shut the lathe off before you pull this in and out of that. I don't want to rip up this hole. That's going to be a hole that's going to have my cap on it. So I don't want to make sure that I don't tear that up. I'm going to use a card here, and the card has a long line on it. That's a tangent, the area that I'm going to work on, and the arrow line's 90 degrees from that. And we're going to set the laser up so that there's a gap between the cutter and the laser. And that gap is going to be my wall thickness. That gap is my caliper. That gap needs to be 90 degrees through the wall. That's why we use the card to help us establish that perpendicularity, that gap 90 degrees through the wall. All right, so I have this swiveled around now. In fact, I'm going to swivel it even just a little bit more to come up and undercut that shoulder. Okay. So I'm going to use the long line here where we're going to work right out at the tip. And I'm going to move this over here. Let's turn the laser on. And we're going to position that so that there's a gap. The gap, the distance between the laser and the cutter is my wall thickness. So I want to make it pretty thin here. I want to make it about 1/8 of an inch. Okay. Let's tighten this down. Double check. Still 1/8 of an inch. All right. So now we're going to get in there. Now when we're working in there, we're no longer blind. The laser's a dot on top of the surface, and we can see how deep we are. We can even see the shape of what we've hollowed out in there. So I'm going to come over here now. Let's turn the lathe on. And we're going to, let's get rid of some of that waste wood from behind a little bit. And we're going to make that laser disappear. And it's going to give us an early warning. Now it gets elongated like that. That says slow down. I'm getting close. When the laser disappears and shines down on the bed of the lathe, the gap is left behind there. All right? So now I've just measured that right here. It gets elongated and disappears. The gap's left behind, tells me when to stop. Make another cut. Stop. I got to move around, the camera's in my way. There we go. Make another cut. Stop. 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 Now I know that's 1/8 of an inch wall thickness right there. It's really nice and in uniform. This top quadrant is done, the first 3/4 of an inch. I need to move my cutting action around to the middle of it. So I'm going to reset my laser now with a gap, the long line where I'm going to be cutting, the 90-degree line, the gap. And if I set it here, now look at the cutter, and the laser is in the wrong position. It's not on the arrow line. So I'm going to loosen up the laser bracket and move it over and set it for another 1/8 of an inch. Right? Now I'm set for that gap to work through this section. I should have put it in the piece before I turned the lathe on. Okay, so let's get in here. Well, there's some waste wood in the bottom here. Let's get some of this waste wood out from behind first. And now these, I don't know if you could hear it or see that laser bumping a little bit, wobbling around in there. The shavings are packed in there so tight that it was forcing my cutter to move around in there. So let's clear the shavings out. All right. So now I'm going to go back to the area that I'm done already here. The laser's already gone there. And I'm going to pick that up and let's start measuring. Stop. 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 I don't know if you're getting a sense of this, but this is really hard work. Stop. 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 Okay. So now that whole new area is all measured now. I'll never go back. Don't go back there. Can't go back there. It's already thin. It could be drying out and not running around anymore. and it'll flex and vibrate. So I can't go back. I have to be satisfied with that surface before I move on to the next stage. I had to swivel this around to up and undercut the shoulder, so I don't need that anymore. I'm going to straighten it out and not perfectly straight right in, but just on a little bit of an angle, because I still need to get up around in here just a little bit. Okay, so now look at where my laser is. Wow, wacky. Nowhere's near where I need to be. I need to be measuring up into here. So the long line is going to be the tangent next to where I'm going to be working. Bring it over to my cutter, and I reset the laser with a new gap now, which is 90 degrees to the wall down here, right? My new caliper. Okay, so now let's go into the hole. So I can feel that bottom where the 1.25" hole is. I'm not into the 5/8 hole, but I can feel that bottom. I can hear that little hiss. I don't want to cut down in there, but that shoulder is my depth of the large hole. So let's see where that is leading. Watch the laser come straight up and then over to the side, all right? So I need to get rid of all of this wood here first. Let's go back over here. All right, that's where I ended. See where the lasers disappeared right there? We're done. We're done with that part. So I'm going to start measuring there. Stop. 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 Clean up the tool marks. So that's the sequence of hollowing, any kind of hollowing, not just a goblet, but or not just a Christmas ornament, but any hollowing. You measure, 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 clean up the tool marks, move on to the next stage, measure, 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 clean up the tool marks, don't go back, go on to the next stage, measure, measure, measure. And sometimes there can be 2 or 3 stages. Sometimes if it's a real complex shape, you might have multiple stages, 5, 6, 7, 8 stages, whatever it takes to keep that gap perpendicular through the wall. And most importantly, wow, that shavings are packed in there so tight, it wouldn't even blow out. Oh, you guys should feel this. Woo! That would be worthy of an inside of a hollow form. No tool marks, is nice and clean in there. Now, I don't have a nub in the bottom. Remember, my drill hole goes all the way through here. I don't have a nub in my bottom, so I have a 5/8 drill hole in there. I'm going to set my cutter now straight towards the headstock. So I've got it now straight towards the headstock. And when I get in there, I want to be setting the laser, all right, I'm going to set it right at the tip with no gap. That no gap means when I look at the laser, I look at from what I'm viewing now, stop wobbling, camera. I'm looking at the right-hand side of the laser. That's exactly how deep I am, okay? Let's tighten that down. There we go. So now when I'm in there, I can go into that 5/8 inch hole. It goes all the way down in there, right? So go back up here. There's my shoulder of the drill hole, right? That's exactly where I wanted it. I want it right up here, not there. So that gives me about, maybe a fat 1/8, almost 3/16 wall thickness between the bottom shape of my globe and the inside hollowed amount. So I've got a nice wall thickness there. I'm not getting it too thin to give me some flexibility and cleaning up this bottom nice. So let's watch that now. I'm going to go back and forth across there. I'm not going into the 5/8 inch hole anymore. I'm just going back and forth. Listen for the little hiss. I don't know if you can hear that in the camera. Okay, and I go across here, and now there's a bump right there. And that bump, I'm going to just taper that into the sidewall. This is already done here. I'm not going to hollow out in there anymore, but I need to just transition that in and take any waste wood out of there, any weight. Again, it's a weight issue. I want it to be nice and light, so I'm making a nice curved line in there. Oh, how sweet that is. You're going to see this in a minute. We'll let you take a look in there with the camera, but it's exactly what I wanted. Perfect. There's a number of things that we can do on the outside. I could just take a parting tool and cut this off like I did in Vendor Showcase, but that rips it up terribly, and I don't want to do that. All right, so now we don't need this waste wood here anymore. We're not going to do any more hollowing. I don't want to hit my screws. There's my screws right there. So we can get in here. I want to get some of that waste wood away so I can maneuver behind there with some gouges instead of a parting tool. The steep angle now is going to give me a very, very clean cut. This is going to be a hard place to shear scrape because I want to shear scrape the correct way. If I shear scrape the wrong way, I shear scrape uphill, it's going to fuzz it up a bit, and then I have to sand all that. So I want to cut downhill to the fibers, and I can do it with a very, very steep angle tool. I've got to get the bevel on first. Bevel first, get my bevel lined up, and I can take really a very cleaning cut now across here and refine the line. I'm rolling my wrist a bit and I'm swinging the handle at the same time and lifting my handle. Okay, so we can come back up here. Now it's starting to be a nicer line. I'm going to tuck this in a little bit more. I'm going to take it in there. Now that's a little bit better. So again, bevel support first. Follow that line. What's underneath here is never going to show. That's going to be inside the knob or the finial base. And then I can part it right off. And I don't know if I'm going to stick my hand in front of the camera or not, but I got to catch this. Okay. View of it. There we go. Now we can see the inside. So the inside, the bottom just floats into the sidewall nice, so it's nice and thin and uniform in there. If you like the kind of teaching I do and the details that I get into, come back and see me again. Do me a favor, if you will, and talk about this on your Facebook page or to your club members. Put it in your newsletter that this stuff is available for a real reasonable price, and even the Vendor Showcase, even free events that we do, and point them in our direction. There's a lot of us that are doing this, Cindy and Todd and many of us around the country that are doing these remote demos, and so the resources there, that there's a lot of learning and a lot of fun, a lot of entertainment to be seen and watching people turn and do their thing, and there's so many different methods and techniques that you can never get tired of watching it. So promote it on your social media, if you will, and pass the good word that we're doing the job up here, and we'll see you in a few weeks.